Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry, son of the Movies. In my previous video, I said I was going to discuss The Fablemans, but I'm not really ready to do that. The box office and box office in general, and marketing budgets. But instead, I'm going to talk about Evil Dead Rise. So this will be a brief one. This is the sequel, I guess technically, or seems to be anyway, to the 2013 remake that was directed by Uruguayan filmmaker Fede Alvarez. And that's interesting to me because I'm from Uruguay. And as you could tell, I'm a fan of the original Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Ash versus Evil Dead. And, oh geez, I know I got the Army of Darkness somewhere, but anyway, I am a fan of those. So here we go. Right there. Ooh. There are many different versions on DVD, but obviously I'm a fan of these movies. So I think the difference for me between the Evil Dead remake and Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell, the Evil Dead trilogy, and the TV series, is because Bruce Campbell, the interesting thing about those movies, I thought, was that it was somewhat tongue-in-cheek, so that Bruce Campbell seemed almost larger than life to a certain extent. He has that elongated chin, and he's, everything with his raised eyebrows and everything else, and he's able to fight these Evil Dead spirits. And it got to the point that even with the second film, I got the impression the Evil Dead spirits were a little afraid of him, of Ash. So he brought such personality, and so did the other actors, but in particular, Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell is the Evil Dead, and they did a good job with the TV series. They had some good actors in there as well. The remake seems to take the very concept of the original Evil Dead, turn it on its head to some degree, but really all they did was turn it on its bloody head. I mean, it's far more gory. It's, and to be fair, even the Ash versus Evil Dead series was very gory. But it was fun. There was a certain tongue-in-cheekness to it, and it elevated the material. And there were a lot of visual gags. In particular, I always think of Evil Dead 2 when Bruce Campbell, Ash, has to kill his girlfriend who's possessed by the Evil Dead spirits and decapitates her and buries her. And then she bursts out of the ground, and she, this naked body, minus a head, doing this whole tap dance routine out of Fred Astaire. And that was and it was both funny and scary at the same time, because you didn't know really what to expect next. That movie kind of unleashes itself on you. Really, the trilogy, Army of Darkness, is probably the mildest of that trilogy. But the Evil Dead remake just seemed like grisliness and a lot of gore, but not any real spirit to it, no real sense of identity to itself. It was almost like there were people inspired by the idea and they replicated it, but without the humor, which really helps the material, I think, and without casting actors who were that memorable. I mean, there was no character really in it like Ash. I think they had that woman, young woman, Levy. I can't remember her first name. Oh, geez. Okay, let's see if we find her here. Jane Levy. But, again, she wasn't really that memorable. And the screenplay was, one of the writers was Diablo Cody, which I find interesting because I love Juno, but it was just not, it was far too grisly, far too gory, but no real spirit to it. It was just blood-curdling horror. But for the sake of it, but not because there was really, again, any interest in it. There was no real sense of identity to it. So I wouldn't say I hated Evil Dead, but in comparison to the original, it's a far cry from what that film, I think, accomplished, personally. So this movie, I saw the trailer, and again, it's just, when you have an hypodermic needle and this possessed woman is ready to pierce somebody's eyeball and that sort of thing, it may be actually more interesting than the last one. But when you don't have Bruce Campbell, I just I kind of lose interest. You know, it's just not the same. It won't be. It can't be. And it seems to me that even though I haven't obviously seen the film, judging by the trailer, which is no different than the trailer for the 2013 version, it just seems like it's going to be a lot of gore in it and a lot of terror, but no real human interest. But maybe it will. I don't know. Judging by this new one, let's see. I think it's here we go. Now, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell both serve as producers for this one. There's a director named Lee Cronin who has taken over. I don't know him. I don't know any of these actors. Alyssa Sutherland, Morgan Davies, I don't know. Running time is about 2 hours long, which might be 1 hour and maybe a half hour longer than it should be for an Evil Dead movie. So I can't really comment on it. It's been written by the director. Maybe it will be decent. I don't know. But judging by the trailer alone, it just doesn't seem, it seems like a lot of gore thrown at the audience, perhaps, without the rhyme or reason of the trilogy. Because, again, it had a funhouse aspect, the original Evil Dead trilogy, and the 2013 film did not have that. I'm not saying you have to make the same movie. I'm just saying, why not take it somewhere else? Instead of just adding more gore and some unmemorable characters. I mean, they just didn't stick out in my mind at all. In fact, that movie kind of bored. I found it boring more than anything else. Evil Dead shouldn't be boring, but that was my impression of the 2013 film. So this new one, again, it might be decent. I'm not going to run to the theater to see it, that's for sure. But I may see it at some point because I like the concept. But I think without Bruce Campbell and even some of the characters from the Ash vs. Evil Dead series, it's really hard to entice me with that. Unless you have an actor who can sort of keep these spirits at bay because he seems crazier than the Evil Dead spirits. And that, to me, was the selling point, at least in my mind, for the original Evil Dead trilogy and the series. So tell me your thoughts. Did you like the 2013 version of Evil Dead? Do you think it was actually better than the original Evil Dead trilogy? Lend me your thoughts. Do you look forward to this new one, which is now 10 years since the other movie, which is weird? What do you think of Evil Dead or Bruce Campbell, or do you think the whole thing is just silly and counterproductive? I don't know. Lend me your thoughts. Please subscribe to my channel if you like what you hear. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.